Okay, we're fully functioning as a video. Yes, it is another crappy computer vlog kind of thing going on. That's just because I haven't done one recently, and I thought it would be good to kind of talk about something just because I wanted to keep the kind of time to talk series kind of going. Um, so I know this is going to go for a while, and I know it's one of those videos that it is quite long and it is difficult to digest longer videos. Um, I kind of want to change that appeal, but I also want to be 100% honest and not kind of edit these and cut these down and just kind of have raw talking. Obviously, if I say something that may not necessarily, I may not have like worded it correctly and it's come off a bit differently, I might cut it out, but I generally want to keep this quite open and keep it as a discussion as well. So you're kind of welcome to talk to me about things, but I the idea of this series was so that people could get to know me as a person, but also to help myself. I'm kind of one of those people that tends to bottle things up and then explode with emotion once it gets way too full. And that's not a healthy way of dealing with things, so I figured, what if I start talking about my things that I have going on, my thoughts, my feelings, my problems, even if it's just to a camera and nobody's really listening. In a way, I've said it out loud and kind of got it out in a way, and in a very public manner as well. So once these videos are up, that's kind of it. Everyone keeps logs on everything, so I can't really take it back or anything. So that's the idea of why I'm doing this, and I want to keep everything as honest as possible, especially if I'm doing voiceovers for videos and they're not necessarily just raw live footage, which I want to hopefully be able to do in the future with cameras and whatnot. Um, you can tell I'm tired. Usually, when I want to discuss things, it's quite late at night, and I mean like very late at night. So I figured on my lap, in my bed, in my PJs, is one way to really hone that in there. So welcome to my room, and welcome to my bed, and welcome to my blank space behind me, because I can't have things on the wall at the moment, because we are one day going to be selling. They've said that for a while now. I'm just waiting it out. So, great. Now I gotta actually talk about my thing. That's fun. Um, I have my cue card there. So what I thought about talking about today was my experience with helplines. Um, this doesn't count for anyone else's experience. This is just my own personal experience and what I have had to deal with personally, and what a few other people who I've talked to about it have dealt with personally, so it's not just a me thing. Other people have too, but then other people have said no, that's not what happened to them, and their experience was totally different. Um, so everyone's experience with helplines is going to vary and going to be different. I'm putting this up there so you have what it was like for me and my experience, and either you can relate or you can disagree with it, or you can learn about one person's story. So, the reason I wanted to talk about this is because I was recently watching a video where um, the topic came up very quickly to um, those kind of like counseling places and seeing a psychologist and them kind of not really listening to you and just kind of prescribing you things to make you get better, but not really hone in on the problem deep at heart. Um, a lot of people found issues with it painting psychologists and counselors in a negative light because their experiences were positive with psychologists and counselors, but there are also people who've had quite negative experiences that almost makes it feel like to that degree where the psychologist and counselor is there as their job. They don't care about you, they don't want to help you, they just want to get their money. And they don't want to listen to your problems, they don't want to hone in on their problem deep at heart, they just want to prescribe you and have you out, like constantly coming back for prescriptions and whatnot. So there are two very different kind of experiences because some it's been really nice and the psychologist and counselor has been very understanding and listened and tried to actually help the person and actually be a decent um, human being and be a decent person at their specific job. Um, I have, I guess, in a way, two different experiences, but I want to just kind of focus on for the beginning of the story on helplines. They're things that you go to when you're not. Thank you, game. I should have turned that off, but it's fine. Um, they're like these places that you can go to talk to people when you're not particularly feeling the best, and you just kind of want someone to talk to. They're not necessarily crisis help lines. I also have experience with those, but they're supposed to be there as a way for you to be able to talk about your things, like what I'm doing right now. Um, but my experience was very harsh and very jarring, I guess you could say. Um, I tried a load of different helplines, just kind of talked about my problems and expressed that I'm just simply looking for somebody to listen to my story without running away, because every time I tell my story, people just run away. Every time. And that's what's caused me to internalize everything, because it's like, well, I can't tell you anything because you'll hate, or you won't hate me, you'll fear me and just run away. Or you'll not want to deal with that and just run away, won't be able to handle that and just run away. So I would open up and talk to them about my situation, what happened to me, blah blah blah, try and talk things over. Then after a while, I couldn't get access to those helplines anymore, because from what I understood and what I gathered is they blocked my mobile number. And that kind of hit me a bit, in the fact that not only people in my life didn't want to deal with me, but people who it was kind of what they were pursuing um, and were there for, was also running away. And that made me kind of not really trust helplines. And the same thing happened with, like, those lines, the little helplines that you go to when you're very not okay. Eventually, my number just got blocked, and at that point you're like, okay, fine, well, nobody wants to listen to me, nobody wants to help me, nobody can deal with me, what's the point? And that's when it's the last straw for a lot of people, because then they just have nothing. There's nowhere for them to turn to, there's nowhere for them to get help, there's nowhere for them to talk about what they need to talk about, because I get it, not a lot of people can handle that, not a lot of people can handle me in general, let alone when I'm faced with mental issues, and dealing with stuff that is quite difficult for a person to deal with. And yeah, I shouldn't be dealing with that on my own, but I kind of didn't, and just didn't have a choice. And that sucked, but I just kind of faced the reality that I had to deal with everything by myself, because no, I'm not saying hey Siri. Wow. No. No. Shh. No. Shh. So, where was I? Continue. So yeah, that made me just deal with things on my own, because it's like, well, no one's gonna help me. What's the point? Few other stuff in between that. But yeah, it's kind of a really awful feeling, to not be essentially wanted around, not being wanted to be heard, being quite invisible to people, and only not invisible when you do something bad, so you get yelled at for it. Sound familiar? Guess not? Okay. Maybe it does. So that was my experience with helplines, and even experiences with some psychologists. The first one that I ever went to told me they couldn't understand why I had all the mental health issues that I did, and pretty much just that I should suck it up, because everyone else goes through worse things than me, so why should I have all of these problems? A mental health professional, which mental health professionals aren't really, not a lot of them are all that great here in Australia. I'm just going to warn you all. Some are good, some are good, and some are really bad, like really bad. So for her to say that to me, that there was no reason for any of my mental health issues, that, you know, I should just get over it, blah blah blah. It really devaluated my experiences. It really it made them seem like insignificant. And yet, when I talk to a lot of people, they're like, your life is really fucked up. So, how the fuck did they say that? What? Um, so, I don't know. Obviously, it wasn't super crazy or anything uh, intense, but it was enough. Um, so it made me feel pretty shit about myself, and I didn't want to go to any counselors or any psychologists or anything like that because I was like, well, if they're just gonna tell me that my problems shouldn't be there and I'm just simply causing them myself because for attention or whatever, um, then what am I even doing? What am I? Why do I deserve to get help? Became the thing. I don't deserve to get help. I'm this. I'm that. And it wasn't anything positive. It was always negative. Just because I kept getting beaten down by people who were supposed to be helping me, plus the people in my life and being beaten down by them as well. And that's not the healthiest thing, and it's not the nicest thing to experience. So, if you're experiencing that, I do know how you feel, and I'm really sorry. Um, People are absolute C words. Honestly, sometimes. I'm not gonna lie. Um, but I'm rooting for you to get out of that, and I'm rooting for you to be able to find that help and to be able to get that strength and that courage, and that your experiences are valid. No matter what anyone else says, they are valid. Because that is your reality. Just because it isn't like somebody else's doesn't make it any more or any more insignificant. Um, so that was my experiences with psychologists and helplines, and I think only recently have I found a good oh god um a good psychologist, um when I actually got my help for my gender dysphoria, and I started to talk about things, and she actually took the time and listened and understood what I was saying and was like, well, that must have been, really hard to deal with, especially on your own. I think you've done really well for going through all of that on your own. And that was the first time I ever really heard anyone, listen to me and say that to me. So it was kind of like, that's like, well, in like the medical sense, like professional sense, it was quite jarring for me because I wasn't used to that. I wasn't used to seeing a medical professional actually be like, yeah, your feelings are valid. What you experienced is valid, and you've done really well to get this far. Um, and she's honestly done amazingly um, with helping me out with specific issues, and it wasn't like mental health issues. It was just kind of life issues where you may not be sure of something and you need a second opinion, um, and it, like obviously a big something that's having an impact on you. Um, so for me, it was quite stressful and anxiety inducing, um, and she kind of reassured me that, you know, um, probably wasn't me, um, and the way that I handled everything. I said, I wish all of my clients thought like you, because um, that is a really good way to think of things. Um, and that was really interesting to me to hear that from someone, to hear that from a medical professional, that, in the past wasn't as kind as that. So that was rather cool. Um, so, and not to mention, obviously, transitioning, giving me a bit more confidence. But having that to talk to did help. And, like, I will say, for anyone else who is struggling to find a good psychologist, they're difficult to find, but they are out there, definitely. And when you find one that works with you and works with you well, um, then that is just honestly amazing. um, and I'm losing so much train of thought right now. What the hell? Man, it, it's obviously way too late for me to be doing this. Clearly. Clearly. Um, Great. uh, Great. I'm literally completely blanked. I don't even know. Alright then. Yeah, well, okay. Good psychologist is out there. You just gotta find them. And just keep doing everything you can to keep going. And I know it's difficult to slowly start to talk about things with someone that you trust. And then eventually that will grow into something bigger, um, if that makes sense. uh, well, I've probably yapped on for way too long about my personal experiences with helplines and psychologists, and it's late at night, so I guess I should probably be sleeping. Who needs sleep? Why should I be sleeping? Oh well. Okay, well, hopefully you enjoyed this awful, awful rant. Um, I just wanted to talk about things. Tell me your experiences down in the comments, because I am quite curious, because everyone's experiences is quite different, and your thoughts and opinions might be different for, the Australian healthcare system, even though I think that's in all my honest opinion. What? Yeah, hopefully you enjoyed. If you did, you know, leave a like button and subscribe to become. Actually, why am I doing this outfit? Just leave your comments about your stories and all of that. Okay, cool. I made this all goodbye.